This is CEMTV, reliable news and entertainment.
What's on your mind today?
The goal by Victor Osimhen was amazing.
The economy, isn't that what's on everybody's mind?
I would like to see more women in positions of authority. If you heard and saw it from CEMTV, you can take it to the bank. CEMTV, your reliable source of news, information, and entertainment.
The birthing of something new, African, Nigerian. Our vision is to become a leading and trusted television network in Africa and beyond, delivering credible news, inspiring stories, and engaging entertainment that informs, empowers, and connects communities. CEMTV, from Africa to the world.
Hello and thanks for joining us on CEMTV Main News on the Hour. Remember, truth first, you next. Stay informed to stay empowered. My name is Mebaka Inyenengi on the news. On the headlines, heavy rain causes severe flooding across several parts of Lagos. Federal government approves a major reform of the National Youth Service Corps, extends the orientation camp program from 3 weeks to 6 weeks. A federal high court in Abuja grants activist and former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore fresh bail and a sum of 200 million naira. We'll bring you details of these and other stories in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
This is CEMTV, reliable news and entertainment.
On Rivers News, following the submission of the 2026-2028 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, MTEF, Rivers State Governor Simlai Fubara to the Rivers State House of Assembly, the document has now been approved by lawmakers, paving the way for the preparation of the 2026 appropriation bill. However, the development has also sparked public discussion, with some stakeholders questioning the timing of its presentation, which came months after the timeline prescribed under the State Fiscal Responsibility Law. CEMTV News spoke with Mr. Victory Thompson, a political analyst, to get his perspective on the presentation of the framework. He explains why the House moved to approve it within 24 hours and the key areas, he says, should be prioritized as the state prepares its next budget.
Okay. What do you do?
No, I'm the spokesperson for Wicked Generation Next.
Okay. So tell us, do you feel that the medium-term expenditure framework that was presented to the Rivers State Assembly by the governor, do you think it was presented rather too late?
Yeah, if you ask me, it was actually presented too late because we already had the 6th month in the 2026 budget that we're expecting that he must have presented it since September last year. So presenting the medium-term expenditure at this particular time is something Rivers people have been yearning for. They've expected it so that it can actually direct development in the state. So presenting it now is just too late. And then I don't think there's anything that can be done about that.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but he has already presented. So what the people need to look at is just for them to see what and what that he has been outlined or he has outlined as part of the economic framework for the state for the next 3 years. Because I saw the expenditure framework, it has to do with 2026, 2027 and 2028. So the governor in his wisdom looked at it and said, okay, for 3 years they should be able to present this framework and see if it's actually something that can be worked out. But he's leaving office next year, so he may not be able to oversee the ideas that he have covering on the medium-term expenditure framework. But let's see the budget. When we see the budget, we'll be able to know what he plans to achieve in 2026, and then maybe in the next 3 months before he leaves office in 2027.
Okay. Now, the document was approved a day after. Why do you think that document, the MTEF, was approved?
Okay, it was approved a day after simply because the assembly looked at it and said, oh, the governor is behind schedule. If you look at it, the time he presented the budget, he is just behind schedule, and Rivers people have been expecting that at least there should be development that people can see in the states. If you look at the last 3 years, up until this particular moment, nobody can point to one particular thing Rivers people have been able to see from this government, apart from the ring road project that have been stalled for a couple of months. People have been asking, okay, complete a certain project for us so that we can be able to say, okay, this is what the government is doing for the past 3 years, nothing. So coming now to come and maybe present your medium-term expenditure framework, it's just something people have just been tired. A lot of Nigerians are.
Those were the views of Mr. Victoria Thompson on the recently approved medium-term expenditure framework. With a fiscal blueprint now in place, attention is expected to shift to the presentation of the 2026 budget and whether it addresses the state's most pressing developmental needs. Still reporting on Rivers News, our development economist Dr. Demoja Nathaniel Akokaike has stressed the importance of timelines, people-centered budget planning, and legislative approval to ensure effective delivery of public services. Dr. Akokai made the call while reacting to the delayed submission of the 2026-2028 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, MTEF, by the Rivers State Governor, Sir Similai Fubara, to the Rivers State House of Assembly. Dr. Akokai charged the Rivers State government to place greater emphasis on good governance rather than political considerations in its fiscal planning. The further urged the government to ensure that future expenditure and revenue projections are aligned with the needs of the people, identifying agriculture as one of the critical sectors that deserves increased investment to drive economic growth, enhance food security, and boost internally generated revenue. The economists maintained that prompt preparation, presentation, and legislative passage of budget frameworks are essential for effective policy implementation and substantial development.
If the financial year of Rivers State has already elapsed, or is coming when the previous budget have already expired, it therefore means that it is coming too late, because it is an annual, permit me to say that it ought to be an annual exercise.
Our sincere apologies. To conclude reporting Rivers News, our routine journey home from work ended in a tragedy for two siblings after a leaking canoe capsized in a river at Ahoda East local government area of Rivers State, claiming both their lives and raising fresh concerns over the safety of water transportation in the area. The victims identified as 25-year-old Mekailaichi Ogochuri and his 23-year-old sister Rejoice Gogochuri were returning home from work when the canoe carrying them and 5 other passengers overturned at Aliyah Overbridge in Ahoda town. Their elder brother Abraham Gogochuri told a journalist that the incident occurred at about 7:45 p.m. He alleged that the canoe, which serves as a major means of transportation for residents, was was already leaking before it departed and was not equipped with life jacket for passengers. So sad. On the national scene, report says that the federal government has approved a major reform of the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC), extending the orientation camp program from 3 weeks to 6 weeks as part of efforts to reposition the scheme for greater impact. The reform are aimed at making the NYSC more relevant to the country's youth development and economic goals. Under the new changes, military drills and parade activities during the orientation course have been removed. In addition, the traditional passing out parade held at the end of the year 1-year national service will now be replaced with a graduation ceremony to mark the successful completion of the program. The federal government says the overhaul will shift the focus of the scheme towards practical skills acquisition, entrepreneurship, and workforce preparedness, providing corps members with better opportunities to become self-reliant and more competitive in the labor market. As part of the reforms, the redesigned NYC uniform will also be introduced to project a more professional image and give the scheme a renewed identity. The government maintains that the changes are part of a broader strategy to modernize the NYC and enhance its contribution to national development. Still on the national scene, a federal high court in Abuja on Tuesday granted activist and former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore fresh bail in the sum of 200 million naira, weeks after revoking his previous bail over his failure to appear in court for trial. Delivering the ruling, Justice Mohammed Umaru ordered Sowore to produce 2 sureties before the bill takes effect. One of the sureties must be a traditional ruler from his community, while the other must own a landed property within the Federal Capital Territory. The court also directed the defendant to deposit his international passport with the court registrar pending the determination of the case. Following the ruling, Justice Umaru released Sowore into the custody of his legal team and adjourned the matter until Monday, July 6, when he is expected to open his defense. Sowore is being prosecuted by the Department of State Services (DSS) over alleged cybercrime linked to social media posts in which he reportedly described President Bola Tinubu, quote, as a criminal, unquote. He has denied the allegation and pleaded not guilty to the charges. To conclude news on the national scene, Lagos State has been hit by widespread flooding following hours of torrential rainfall, leaving homes, businesses, and major roads submerged across several communities. Areas on both the mainland and the island, including Mushi, Bagada, Surulere, Ikeja, Ikorodu, Oshodi, Victoria Island, and parts of Lekki, were among those severely affected as residents struggle to move around the city. Heart-wrenching videos from some of the hardest hit communities show flood waters rising to door level, leaving houses almost completely submerged. In one of the incidents, men were seen wading through the murky waters to rescue children trapped inside flood homes. While some of the children were already partially submerged in the contaminated water, highlighting the dangers posed by the flood. The flooding also disrupted commercial activities at a high-end restaurant. Water rose to calf level inside the building, forcing staff to provide nylon bags for customers to cover their feet as they made their way out through the flooded premises. The scenes underscored the impact of the flood extended beyond low-lying communities. On major roads, several vehicles were left partially submerged after being overtaken by the rising water, causing tragic disruptions and leaving motorists stranded. The incidents demonstrated that both informal settlements and high-end settlements were affected by the downpour, renewing concerns over drainage infrastructure urban flood management and the need for greater flood preparedness as the rainy season continues. Now moving on to Africa, where the European Union has announced new visa restrictions for Somali nationals following a disagreement with Somali over the return of irregular migrants that have been ordered to leave Europe. Under the new measures, Somalis will no longer qualify for multiple entries and Schengen visas, while the processing time for applications will increase to 45 days. Holders of diplomatic passports will also lose certain visa fee exemptions and simplified application procedures. The European Union said the decision was taken because of what it described as Somalia's insufficient cooperation in accepting the return of its reported nationals. However, Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed rejected the criticism, insisting his government is willing to accept all genuine Somali citizens, but claimed some asylum seekers are from other countries and falsely identified as Somalis. The EU said the restrictions could be reviewed if cooperation improved, noting that similar measures previously imposed on Ethiopia and the Gambia were later lifted after both countries strengthened their readmission processes. Still on African news, today marks the June 30th deadline set by a South African group that has called on foreign Africans to leave the country, threatening those who will remain with violence. As concerns grow over potential humanitarian impact, CEMTV team took to the streets to find out what Nigerians think about the development.
Xenophobic stuff going on in South Africa, I really don't think it's the right thing to do, because I mean, we're all Africans. People come in, we have South Africans here, I'm sure, and they move around freely, nobody harasses them, and I don't really think there's a good reason for doing what they're doing. No reason is good enough. I mean, you don't have to kill, you don't have to scare people away. They are there and they're adding value, you understand, to your country.
That people are taking their jobs.
If you work hard, there's no way people will take your job. That's it. It happens in Nigeria, it happens everywhere. If you're good at what you're doing, I mean, good for you. If you think they are taking your job, then do something different. I mean, you could work hard, you could work harder even if they're working anyway. There's something else you could do, to make a difference. I mean, it's nobody's fault if people are coming from outside. It means they are good. And they're adding to your... Because why don't you just take a leave?
For some other respondents, the conversation is less about nationality and more about human life. She believes that regardless of the investment or business people may have built over the years, their safety should come first. She also called on governments to facilitate the safe evacuation of their citizens should the situation deteriorate any further.
The evacuation which the government issued on Nigerians and other citizens of South Africa, or let me say strangers are there, foreigners to leave the country, which is tomorrow. I don't think that's the right move to make. I don't think it's the right move, because there are some measures that will have been put in place. You can't just expect somebody that have a business to close down his business, which is earning from, and that business has been there for years, and this is this now as an instance to leave the country. And our country, again, our citizens that are there, our government need to do the needful. It's not about saying some things. There's a difference between saying things and doing them, and also saying things and not doing it. Because if the government of Africa is working, okay, let me calm down now, let me digress a little. There's a difference between governance and government. Now, when you have a government in South Africa that is working, it's going to ensure that some things are put in place. It's not about chasing citizens that they should go back to their country, or foreigners that they should go back to their countries. If you're chasing these people, you have other people, you have some of your citizens that are in other countries that are doing trades and are doing business. How will you feel? You need to put yourself in the shoes now. You need to have empathy, because you can't just be bring some things and just say, okay, let's just put it in place, implement this, okay, let's send them out. Doesn't tell good of your country, because at the end of the day now, you're creating a bad image for your country. Some investors will avoid that country. There will be political instability, there will be lack of development, because most of the development there in South Africa as we speak is not even done by the government. It's done by most foreigners. Some employments are done by the foreigner, because the government won't come out and say, okay, I'm the one that made sure, I'm the one that employs some certain people into an institution or an organization. Like a man, I was watching his video, that was I think last week. He was saying something that we have a business that has been existing for 30 years and he employed some South Africans and they are working. So you expect somebody like that to close his business and come back to
While many emphasize safety, others believe the crisis requires a strong diplomatic response rather than an escalation. One respondent argues that many foreign Africans have spent years building legitimate businesses in South Africa, some even providing employment for South Africans, yet have become targets of hostility. He therefore urges the government of South Africa and other affected countries to engage in dialogue to address the root causes of the reoccurring tension. For another respondent, the issue goes beyond politics or nationality. She says empathy, compassion, and our shared humanity should take precedence over differences in country of origin, adding that Africans should stand together rather than turn against one another.
South Africa, there's a lot to be said, really, but I just think there is actually need for us to just be human, irrespective of who owns what and who is longing for whatever they want. There's just need to be human. That love that you just have for this person is a person just like me. And I think I heard a couple of research where a lot of people were talking about it, that the same South Africa, when they were fighting for their independence, right? I'm a political science student, so I do know that South Africa was one of the last countries to have their independence in Africa, which also led to so many other African countries assisting them, helping them in so many ways. And I also heard something that some Nigerian students were sick.
I think I'm saying that I don't agree.
Says he understands the frustrations expressed by some South Africans, arguing that the tension is largely concentrated around informal and low-income jobs where locals feel they are competing directly with foreigners. He encouraged Africans seeking opportunities abroad to pursue skilled or formal employment where possible rather than competing in the informal sector.
I think I'm saying that I don't agree with the fact that people are looking out of order to fit. Because Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians live in South Africa and they're not being targeted. It's all those people in the formal sector. You know, right? Go to Nigerians working in the banks, in the different institutions, you know, in other areas, especially the formal sector, they're not being targeted. The issue is about people doing inner jobs, trying to talk about the job, the inner job that belong to the South Africans. As a matter of fact, people selling that, now doing shoemaker, doing restaurant, all those kinds of things. But people, even sometimes they're even working in big hotels, big five-star hotels, they're not being targeted. As a matter of fact, lecturers not being targeted, bankers in the oil industries, in the tourism industry, they're not being targeted. So the question is this: it's not about how of another to fit. When you travel to other countries, define, you know, the kind of skill you possess. You can't go to other person's countries and take over all that belongs to, you know, those in that job that only people in this country should be doing. I don't say that what I'm doing is good, but I'm saying that when you are about to leave a country to other countries, you should ensure that you have something to do to add value to the society, especially if you are within the formal sectors, or maybe you have skills, you know, like athletes, as far as or musicians, but not going to that country to be busy selling granules, selling bread, or working, shopping in the hotel.
Our final respondent takes a different position, describing the development as divisive and detrimental to African unity. He argues that South Africans have lived, worked, and established businesses across the continent without facing similar treatment. and calls on other African nations to respond firmly until the hostility towards foreign Africans come to an end.
But no African country should behave like that. What I think every other African country should begin to retaliate. That's for me. We should begin to show them that they are not just existing alone, that we should cooperate. Nations should cooperate. And it's this kind of cooperation that will enhance us and then will make us be united. But what they are literally doing is to continue to disunite Africa.
The diverse opinions expressed reflect the complexity of the issues. So far, respondents have called for diplomatic engagement, greater empathy, economic reforms, or even reciprocal action. What remains clear is the growing concern that the situation must be addressed peacefully to prevent further loss of lives, livelihoods, and the spirit of African unity. Meanwhile, on the foreign scene, Ukrainian-born business tycoon Vadim Yermolayev was among 3 people seriously injured after a parcel bomb exploded at a residential building in the Principality of Monaco. Other victims were the adult woman suspected to be Yermolayev's wife, who was critically injured, and a 13-year-old child believed to be related to the couple, who suffered less serious injuries. Authorities say the explosion occurred on Monday evening. Investigators believe the explosive device had been hidden inside a bag or parcel left in the building lobby before detonation. Surveillance footage reportedly shows a suspect fleeing towards neighboring France shortly before the blast, prompting a joint cross-border manhunt by Monaco and French authorities. Officials say the device contained metal fragments, including bolts and bucket shots, making the explosive particularly dangerous. Several other people were also treated for shock and minor injuries caused by the shattered glass. Monaco government described the incident as an unprecedented act of violence in the Mediterranean Principality, which is known for its low crime rate. While the motive remains under investigation, authorities have not confirmed who was targeted. The attack has drawn strong condemnation from Monaco's leadership, with security forces continuing their search for the suspect as the investigation progresses. And when the news continues, details of more stories still ahead, including Paraguay stuns Germany to reach World Cup round of 16. Nigerian rapper, actor, and activist Faz released a new 5-track extended play titled Break Time. Details of these and other stories in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
Is it time? I can't wait to see it.
Voice of the people, stories that matter.
Oh wow! Aha!
Truth in every moment, now and forever. Across every border, across every land, we form, we empower, together we stand. From Africa to the world.
President Bola Tinubu has approved the establishment of the National Health Technology and Data Analytics Office, a new institution aimed at driving Nigeria's digital health transformation. Pharmaceutical researcher Dr. Obi Adigwe has been appointed as the Pioneer National Coordinator of the office. The NHTDAO, which will operate under the Office of the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, will serve as a national hub for coordinating digital health initiatives, integrating health data systems, and advancing technology-driven reforms across the healthcare sector. According to a statement issued on Friday by the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the office is designed to complement and not to replace the statutory responsibilities of existing health institutions. It will provide national coordination, establish interoperability standards, and promote seamless collaboration among public and private sectors health stakeholders. We move on to business, where the federal government has commenced preparations for its first Eurobond issuance since November 2025, inviting banks, financial institutions and law firms to serve as transaction advisors for a planned international debt offering. The Debt Management Office, DMO, said the appointments will be made through an open competitive bidding process in line with the Public Procurement Act. According to the DMO, the government is seeking both international and Nigerian book runners as well as legal advisors to support the potential Eurobond issuance in the international capital market. Interested firms have until July 13 to submit their expressions of interest and pre-qualification documents. The planned return to the international debt market follows Nigeria's November 2025 Eurobond sale, which raised $2.35 billion and attracted investors' demand of more than 5 times the amount offered. The strong response was viewed as a vote of confidence in the country's economic reform and ability to access global capital markets. Officials say the proposed Eurobond will form part of the federal government's broader external financing strategy aimed at supporting budget implementation, diversification funding sources, and refinancing existing obligations. However, the government has not yet disclosed the size or timeline of the planned bond offering. Still reporting business, with just 1 month to the July 31st recapitalization deadline set by the National Insurance Commission, only 25 of Nigeria's 58 insurance companies have applied for capital verification, raising concerns about the industry's readiness. The recapitalization exercise is designed to strengthen the financial capacity of insurance companies, improve their ability to settle claims, and enhance public confidence in the sector. Industry stakeholders have warned that companies unable to meet the new capital requirement may be forced to pursue mergers, acquisition, or other restructuring options to remain in business. NICOM has reaffirmed its commitment to the July 31st, 2026 deadline, stating that the recapitalization policy is aimed at building a more resilient, competitive, and globally relevant insurance industry in Nigeria. In sports, Paraguay produced one of the biggest upsets of the 2026 FIFA World Cup after eliminating 4-time champions Germany in a penalty shootout to book a place in the round of 16. The round of 32 clashes ended 1-1 after extra time before Paraguay sealed a 4-3 victory on penalties, handing Germany their first ever World Cup defeat in a penalty shootout. Paraguay took the lead in the first half through a header from Julio Enciso after poor German defending left him unmarked inside the penalty area. Germany responded in the second half when Kai Hamzat found the equalizer to force extra time, but neither side could find a winner before the match went into penalties. The shootout ended in heartbreak for the German as Havertz, who had kept his side in the game with his equalizer, missed from the spot. After the match, Arsenal apologized to German supporters as Paraguay completed a historic victory to reach the last 16. The result has sparked wild celebrations in Paraguay, with President Santiago Pena declaring a national holiday to honor the team's achievements. Paraguay will now face the winner of the round of 32 clashes between France and Sweden as they continue their remarkable World Cup campaign. On entertainment news, Nigeria's rapper, actor, and activist Falz has released a new 5-tracks extended play titled Break Time, continuing his tradition of using music to address social, economic, and political issues affecting Nigerians. The project explores themes including the cost of living, governance and social inequality, and the daily struggles of ordinary citizens, reinforcing the artistic reputation for conscious music. The new release follows a long-standing pattern in Falz's career, where his music often reflects national conversations and encourages public discourse on issues impacting the masses. Through Break Time, the award-winning artist combines entertainment with social commentary, using his lyrics to spark reflections on the country's current realities. Falz is no stranger to controversies over his message-driven music. In 2018, the National Broadcasting Corporation prohibited broadcast of his hit song This Is Nigeria, citing its content. The track drew widespread attention for its critique of corruption, insecurity, and other social challenges in the country. With Break Time, Falz appears to be continuing that same creative direction, using his platform to blend music with social advocacy. The new EP is already generating conversations among fans. We see it as another timely contribution to the discussions on governance, accountability, and the experiences of everyday Nigerians. And with that report, we conclude today's CEMTV News on the Hour. And we told you that heavy rainfalls have caused severe flooding across several parts of Lagos. We also reported that federal government has approved a major reform of the National Youth Service Corps, extending the orientation camp program from 3 weeks to 6 weeks. On the national scene, we informed you that a federal high court in Abuja has granted activist and former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore fresh bail and a sum of 200 million naira. In sports, we told you that Paraguay has stunned Germany to reach World Cup round of 16. And on the entertainment scene, we informed you that Nigerian rapper and actor and activist Falz has released a new 5-tracks extended play titled Break Time. That's it on this edition. Thanks for watching. Do follow us on all our social media handles, CEMTVPLUS, across X, Facebook, Thread, and Instagram. You can watch us live on YouTube, CEMTVPLUS. Remember, truth first, you next. Stay informed to stay empowered. I am Miabaka Ianengi. Have a good night rest.
What's on your mind today?
The goal by Victor Osimhen was amazing.